So firstly, I just want to talk about my study abroad experiences. I was really fortunate to travel to a lot of countries, and the whole series thing started from me from the summer of 2010 when Henry, where Alex, we went to China with Dean Chen and everything. And I think we got to analyze cities through the lens of environment, through the lens of culture, sociology, and also through the lens of history. And this program had further dimensions. This program we got to analyze through the lens of urban planning, sustainable environments, culture again, and politics. So it was kind of a different program. So what is the International Honors Program? The objectives of the International Honors Program was basically why does a city's ability to satisfy those needs? How do people create a sense of community, of urban identity? What historical and socio-cultural context frame the opportunities, constraints, and uncertainties of urban life? What must be done and by whom to move toward ecologically sustainable cities? What are the opportunities for political action by individuals, community organizations, social movements, or even local government to shape city life? And we basically had 4 courses. As you can see, it's politics and development, urban planning and sustainable environment, culture and society, and contemporary urban issues. And for that, my research project was on class and transport mobility in the contemporary global south. I think my interest for class and transportation has been ingrained through me throughout. When I was in Kathmandu, I saw the city change drastically. Once during 1996, Nepal went under a civil war. So Kathmandu was one of the few safe havens at that time. So there was a massive influx of rural people as well as people from outside, outside Kathmandu. So you just saw that the city could not incorporate those migrants into the Kathmandu's dynamics. So, and then you saw there were traffic jams all the time, but this is not a new phenomenon just to Kathmandu. All cities in the contemporary global south are facing similar situations, with even some urban theorists claiming that the future of cities is going to look more like Lagos in Nigeria than Tokyo. So what are the two most, I feel when you look the world through an urban lens, the two most dynamic things happening, two most biggest phenomenons happening is everyone has heard this, I think, if you have taken an urban studies class or anything. In 2007, for the first time, the urban population of the world exceeded the rural population of the world. So we have now more than 50% of the world living in cities. And at the same time, what we also have is what Mike Davis likes to call a planet of slums. So we have more than 1 billion people out of the 7 billion of us living in slums. So that has to do with the city's inability to incorporate the rising migrants to the cities. So I think we should always look at those two dynamics moving together. How has a city grown so drastically? And it's growing, if you look at how the cities are going to grow in the next 50 years or next 100 years, it looks as if, I know it's true, it looks as the future of the world is the future of the cities. Because basically more and more people are living in the cities. So through this program, I had opportunity to travel to Detroit in the United States, Sao Paulo and Curitiba in Brazil, Cape Town in South Africa, and Hanoi in Vietnam. All very unique cities, all in different continents, so it was very nice to travel everywhere. And it was very different too. Detroit, I mean, we talk about how cities are growing in size. Detroit is one city which is losing its size. It's it's decaying. People talk about how hopeless it is, how devastating it is. I mean, I had different perspectives when I traveled there, but my major concern, but we only were in Detroit for 2 weeks, so that was only a time when we just met with my fellow participants, who came from all over the United States. They were from California, they were from Harvard, they were from Missouri. We had all participants. And one more thing I liked about my program is we had a very diverse crowd. We had people from around 7 or 8 countries. So it was basically I was learning something, then they were learning different things, even looking at the same situation. So it was just traveling into a different world, being in their shoes, just looking at the world from different perspectives, which was really nice. I really like that diverse environment. So first, after 2 weeks in Detroit, from Chicago airport, we traveled to Brazil, we went to Sao Paulo. And the first impressions of Brazil I had was from the soccer World Cup. You see Ronaldo, you see all those big players. And I thought just looking at them, I hadn't really studied Brazil or anything. I thought they were mostly mixed race or mostly black people or because when you see the soccer team, it's kind of like that, right? So it was very naive of me to think like that, I think. Because when I was in Chicago airport, I just saw white people, all Brazilians were totally white. So you can see how class also plays a role here. Brazilians who can afford a vacation in Chicago, so they should be of the, of the better backgrounds. So I didn't really see like people of the mixed backgrounds. I didn't see like, the soccer players, like the brown people. I just saw like white people, And as I was in a duty free, I was like, some of my friends were saying, should we buy cigarettes here? Should we buy this thing here? And they're like, and we were like, no, Brazil is going to be cheap. But, there are a few Brazilians, like it's very expensive, mind you. So you should probably buy things here. Now going to the country profile, Brazil's population is very interesting because 195.4 million, according to United Nations, 195.4 million people call Brazil their home. And the size is massive. If you look at Brazil, it's bigger than continental United States. So if you exclude Alaska or like Hawaii, then Brazil is much bigger than United States. The major religion is Christianity, and everything is going kind of well. Like when you look at it on the surface, the life expectancy is great. I mean, the currency is very strong. Like the Brazilian real, like it's very strong. For $1, you only get like $1.60. And that's like, very dramatic for a country that was plagued by economic crisis. Like in the 90s, it was going through a lot of debt. It was going through a lot of inflation. And it has done a really good turnaround of economics. And the main exports are manufactured goods, iron ore, coffee, oranges, other agricultural produce. So as Brazil is growing through a very drastic GDP growth, it has also entailed huge income disparities. But like, it's also fair to say that Brazil was always unequal. Like, you always hear about like, people saying Brazil being the most unequal country. I think they have started doing a touch better on that. If you look at the Gini coefficient, which measures the income inequality, Brazil used to be always in the 0.5s. So Gini coefficient is like, 0 being very equal, 1 being very unequal, and 0.5 is like very scarily like unequal. And Brazil used to be always in the 0.5s. Now it has like climbed down to like 0.49. So it's doing well on that, but still you can see like huge income disparities. It feels like when you're traveling through Sao Paulo, like, sometimes you feel like you're in Europe. You feel like, posh places, there's like good cars and everything. You see like good brands and everything. But then sometimes you travel, you feel like you are like, somewhere in Kathmandu maybe, or like, somewhere in Dhaka, like, it's crazy. It's very like a country of inequalities. And as you know, like the president right now is Dilma Rousseff. She won the president elections when I was in Brazil, so which was really interesting. We got to see how it was getting carried along and everything. And Brazil has a very interesting political situation. Like, now it's very stable and everything, but this is like when Lula won the elections in 2002, it was for the first time the leftist party won the elections. So Lula has to deal with like how to move the country forward through like capitalist policies, as well as like his vote comes from the the poor people of the north. If you see Brazil, like the south is predominantly very rich, like very European. If you go towards north, like Bahia, Salvador, like those are like the pockets of like brown people or like black people. They love Lula there. Like when you see the elections, the electoral campaigns and everything, a lot of people get Lula votes from there. I was in Sao Paulo and like my host family didn't like Lula. No one really when I talked to like a lot of people, no one really liked Lula, but he always wins the elections. So you can see like how unequal the country is. So city profile Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo, for a fact, is the largest city in the southern hemisphere. So it's very, very big. If you look at the population of the metro, it's around 20 million people. So Nepal is 30 million. Sao Paulo itself has 20 million people. And density is very huge. And it's just massive, you just can't, I had like 5 weeks in Sao Paulo. I couldn't really, analyze the city in full perspectives. It was like massive. I think we were just like centered around the central part. So you can see Sé, that's very, that's one of the few Portuguese I know, Sé in center, right? So so we were only centered around the central part of Sao Paulo. Sé, that was where our university was. And then if you see Pinheiros, it's very drastically, this is like the more gentrified area, and if you go downwards, it's like where people from humble backgrounds live. So we are centered throughout the the more posh areas, I would say. I don't know why they put us there, but we are there, we are losing our money all the time. It is very expensive. This is the scale of Sao Paulo. It never ends. It never ends. It's so big. It's really big. 20 million people. Maybe New York City, the city itself has the metro is 20 million people around, but the city itself, 8, 10 million people. But I've never seen a city as big as Sao Paulo. And the university we were taught at was Mackenzie University. It was around the Sé area. And this is my host family. We were living in host families, which was really great because they gave me a unique opportunity to analyze Brazil through the lens, as well as I could do it through my lens as well. So that's my post